Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the live stream. So today we are talking about something that is absolutely wild, and I can't believe this is real. Like, if you live in the United Kingdom right now, you wake up every morning to absolute carnage, chaos, calamity, and crisis. The four C's: carnage, chaos. What would you say? Carnage, chaos, calamity, and crisis. That is literally, you know what? That should have been the heading of the live stream. So every morning we wake up, and I just want to throw this out there, guys. Before we even start on the live stream, I want to talk about little Siddiqui. So I don't know if you guys know or not, but let me share this with you real quick, because this just shows you the depths of corruption in the United Kingdom right now. So we've got this lady here. How do I get rid of those ads? I can't. Right. Okay. Labour's Tulip Siddiq sentenced to 2 years in a prison at a corruption trial in Bangladesh. The Labour MP resigned from her ministerial post earlier this year after she was accused of illegally receiving a plot of land from her aunt. Now, listen, guys, let me just tell you quickly who her aunt is. Her aunt has just been convicted of crimes against humanity in Bangladesh. Like, you really, like, honestly, like, am I dreaming right now? Are we in a parallel universe? Because this can't be real. It can't be real, this that's happening, guys. So this lady, the Labour MP, Tulip Siddiqui, she was one of the ministers to the Treasury, basically. Yeah, you heard that right. She was in charge of our money. She was in charge of our taxes. Now, when I talk about this, the example I used to give to you guys is of Sadiq Khan. Like, if Sadiq Khan, let's just say, for example, do you know what? Let's not even say Sadiq Khan. Okay, let's just say, for example, there was a politician, there was the mayor of a big city in the United Kingdom, and evidence came out and it was 100% proof that they'd been doing something really bad. For example, covering up certain types of gangs, denying certain types of crime. If that was the case, and that did happen, and any analogies to real world events is total coincidental. If they keep getting elected, where do we go with this, guys? Literally, where do we go with this? If these people keep getting elected, so now I'm going to jump back to Tulip Siddiqui. I think Tulip Siddiq, sorry. So Labour MP Tulip Siddiq has been sentenced to 2 years in jail for corruption in Bangladesh. Obviously, she's never going to go back to Bangladesh. She's never going to go there, so she's never going to spend this time in jail. Now, what I just want to throw out there is, like, do we think that she's been, like, okay, let's just say that she gets, let's just say that she comes out and she says, just hear me out, guys, all right, hear me out. Let's just say that publicly she just comes out and she says, yeah, do you know what? I've been funneling millions of UK taxpayers' money and I've been sending it to Bangladesh. I'm not saying that's the case. I'm just giving you guys a hypothetical scenario. This could be any politician, If they come out and say, yeah, you know what, I've been funneling billions of dollars to Bangladesh through NGOs, through my aunt's organizations, and we have been having a right jolly old time. Yeah, deal with it. First of all, there's no way to remove her from office for 4 years. So you have to wait for the next election. You have to wait for the next vote. Now, let's just say, for example, that she is in a highly, her constituents identify as Bangladeshi British or British Bangladeshis, and they keep voting for her. How do we get rid of these people? Like, how do we get rid of these people? There's no structure there where like the normal everyday people in the United Kingdom can get, we don't have that structure, guys. We do not have that structure. It's so wild what's happening right now. And it turns out, let me put the chat on. Sorry, guys, the chat's on. Right. So, that, first of all, can't be real, can it? It can't be real. So what this is heading towards a total destruction of the United Kingdom. Why? Why are we being destroyed? Guys, listen, put your tinfoil hats on, ladies and gentlemen. Get those tinfoil hats on right now, okay? This is all, I believe, leading towards universal basic income. This is leading towards universal basic income. So just take a step back. Don't listen to what they're saying. Look what they're doing. All right, so it's all well and good. It's all well and good. The politicians in the United Kingdom saying they're gonna, we're gonna have growth and we're gonna kickstart the economy and we're gonna make everybody richer. If what they're doing is actually the opposite, and I always say this, don't look at what people are saying. Don't listen to what people are saying. Look at what they are doing. Talk is cheap. Actions are the real collateral. Currency, sorry. So we are heading towards a situation in the United Kingdom where the jobs market's going to be gone. It's going to be gone very soon. The only people who will be able to afford the way we're going right now in the United Kingdom, the only way we're going is where you're going to have these big multinational corporations that are operating because they can, because they're government, they have ties to the government. And artificial intelligence is going to be taking a shit ton of jobs. So then that's going to leave Joe Public. What are we going to do? We are going to turn into consumers. We are literally just going to be consumers to keep that economy going. And that's going to bring in universal basic income. Now, I know what people are thinking, and you're right. Universal basic income could lift people out of poverty. It could lift people into broad sunlit uplands. I don't think this is going to happen, guys. I don't think this is going to happen. What I think is going to happen is you will get your universal basic income. And look, when people say that we can't afford universal basic income, trust me, guys, all right? Money is numbers on a screen, all right? Money's numbers on a screen. Look, what have I done? I've done a marker. All right, okay, I don't even know what I did there. I just did, right, okay, I totally fucked up, right? Guys, am I still streaming? I whacked my keyboard then. I think I'm still on. Yeah, I think I'm still on. So when people say, oh, Sean, we don't have enough money in the United Kingdom, we absolutely do. We just make it. You just invent this money. You write stuff on the screen. And while everybody thinks that universal, I'll take my free 1,600 quid a month or whatever it is, that will be good for like the first, I don't know, maybe, I want to say the first year, but it's probably going to be it'll be good for the first 3 days or something. So everybody, this is how it'll work, guys. This is how the scam's going to work. And this is my prediction, my analysis, my speculation. We don't know what the template for universal basic income is, but the absolute destruction of the United Kingdom, and I would say the West as a whole, is leading us towards this universal basic income. Now, what I believe, the way that I would do it, if I was a megalomaniac and wanted to control everybody, I would give it you on I don't have my wallet. I would give it you on a credit card, or not even a credit card, on your it will be on your phone. All right, it will be on your phone. So first of all, to get your universal basic income, you're gonna have to have a digital ID. That's it. You're going to have to have a digital ID. You will have to have a digital ID to get your universal basic income. Okay, whatever. I'll have a digital ID. I'm not doing anything wrong. Fair enough. And I get that. I do, guys. I totally get that. I totally get it. So first of all, you'll have to have the digital ID. And again, I totally get it. I don't do anything wrong. I pay my taxes. I'm pro-government. I'm pro-military. I'm pro-police. I'm definitely not an anarchist. I want rule of law. When somebody says to me, I want to track all your financial transactions and your location at all time, I'm like, no, that's bullshit, mate. I don't want you to do that. I'm not doing anything wrong, but there's something deep inside that says I don't want that. Anyway. So that's going to be the first thing for the digital ID. You're going to have to that's going to be the first thing for universal basic income. You're going to have a digital ID. The second thing you're going to have to do is when you get that money, you're only going to have I'm going to speculate that money will credit your account on the first of each month, and it will recredit and it will keep recrediting. I would say on the last working day of each month, or maybe on the first day of working day of the month, it will reset. So you will only ever have £1,600 or whatever it is on your universal basic income. In that context, you won't be able to save up. You won't be able to put any money away. You won't be able to, you won't be able to save anything. And when people do not have that financial liquidity, that's when you really are trapped. If you don't have financial, okay, I know people don't think they're a slave, but could you, like right now, could you up stakes? Right now, could you go on holiday to could you go on holiday right now? Right now, could could somebody phone you up and say, mate, can you be at the airport tomorrow morning? Could you guys do that? If you can't do that, you are trapped, guys. You're a slave. That is the reality. I'm not meaning that to be negative to anyone. Most people are trapped, financially trapped. That's the reality. So you're not going to be able to do that because of this universal basic income. Now, the next thing that's going to happen with the universal basic income, you're only going to be able to spend your universal basic income at approved shops. So that means you've now controlled the population, and you've controlled you're controlling the supply, the demand, and the expenditure. It's guys, look, I mean, to be fair, it's a phenomenal scam. It's a phenomenal scam. So now all the shops have to conform. All the shopkeepers have to, they're not allowed to sell contraband. It may be the case that, you're not allowed to sell Union flags in your shop, or you can't receive payments from universal basic income. So straight away, people don't sell Union flags or whatever, That's where we're going, guys. That is where we are going. I want to play with you. I'm going to come onto the chat in a second, guys. But I want to play for you guys a short video, if I can find it. Yeah, here we are. I'm going to play for you guys a short video now by Margaret Thatcher, and she's talking about taxes. And get your notebooks out and pay attention to this, guys, because I always say, people, we shouldn't be taxed. All tax is theft.
I must say.
So what she's warning about here, guys, is Margaret Thatcher is warning about people who have countries that have high taxes. Now, if you guys are laboring, you think the best way to make people prosper is to tax them, absolutely fine. Put it in the chat. But I'm not of that opinion, guys. I'm of the opinion that lower taxes drives the economy. Lower taxes drives growth, because that gives people the incentive to get out of bed in the morning and work. And without work, you get no growth. You see where I'm going, guys? Like, how can you grow if you're not going to work? But right now in the United Kingdom, it seems all you've got the incentive to do is stay in bed and bang out more kids.
To my friends, be very wary of high taxes.
Straight away, guys, be very wary of high taxes.
Any government that has high taxation is giving itself more powers and the people less.
Does anybody disagree with this? Like, I was brought up in a Labour family, telling me how bad Margaret Thatcher was. I don't like what guys, does this seem bad to anyone? Does this seem like, does this seem bad?
When I came into office, the top tax on earned income, on earnings, was, now listen, 83%. The top tax on savings was 98%. No wonder our economy was collapsing. I took down the top tax from 83%, first down to 60%, and then now down to 40%. It's been for a long time. Top tax on savings, similarly, right down to 40%. There was some incentive. And of course, the lower rates of tax are much lower, and there are reliefs for owning your own house. Now,
reliefs for owning your own house. So there were tax reliefs. So Margaret Thatcher put in place tax reliefs if you're owning your own house. Here in the United Kingdom, if you own your own house, you get an extra tax for the pleasure of owning your own house.
This was quite popular, except that we had to put on an increased tax, a sales tax. But I thought it better, we did not put a sales tax on essentials. There's no sales tax on food, on children's clothing. on public transport, on electricity or gas.
Does this sound controversial to you guys? Does this sound bad? Does this sound bad? No taxes on essentials like food, children's clothes, fuel, gas, electric. Does that sound bad? Does that sound bad to you guys? Or is this the way? I mean, literally, I think right now, I think videos of Margaret Thatcher would make a better prime minister than we've got at the moment.
These things, the newspapers and books, and the health and services were totally free of tax. They really were fundamental essentials. The taxes went more highly on the other things. And we got that through. And our economy began to bloom. It was worthwhile being efficient.
It was worthwhile being efficient. If you knew me in my private life, guys, if you knew me in my private life, I am a bit of an, I don't want to be, it really bothers me when I see people being not being efficient. It really bothers me when I see people not being but here in the United Kingdom, it does, where's the incentive to get out of bed, be efficient, start a business, move, shake, get things done, be in that environment where you're dealing with high, in that high intensity environment. You might as well just sack it, lay in bed with your missus and bang out a load more kids, because that's where we are right now.
And something else. Any industry under socialists that had come into difficulty simply came to the government for a subsidy to keep it going. I said, no, you're free enterprise. We will give you a framework of law. Freedom, my friends, has never been unfettered, nor has the marketplace.
So what she's saying there is, you know how these companies get subsidies when like companies start to fail and the government subsidizes them? I think let them fail. Honestly, I think let them fail. When the banks, when the banks need a bailout, let them fail. Let the banks fail. Oh, but Sean, people are going to lose millions. People are going to lose millions. It'll send, people will lose their homes. Yes, I understand. Let them fail. That's the free market. That's capitalism. Because you know what? I'll stop sharing this now. Do you know what would happen if we let the banks fail rather than propping them up with taxpayers' money? If they let the banks fail, all right, if they let the banks fail, people would lose their houses. It would be carnage. It would be horrific. But do you know what people would do? People would start to pay attention where they put their money. People would start to pay attention what banking system they're going to. Banks would have to offer more attractive rates to get people in, and you would capitalize the banking system. Because right now, guys, in the United Kingdom, the banking system is the biggest oligarchy that we've got. It's an oligarchy that's, that's state supported. Crazy times we're in, guys. Crazy times. Right. And for those of you Russia bros, if there's any liberals on here and you guys want to know what socialism's like, you guys want to know what it's like living under socialism, I've got a little video for you guys here. Hang on. Little video. It's only like 30 seconds or something. So for those of you guys who want to know what it's like living under socialism.
17 times, so you are so Gaily.
I don't even think this is fun. I don't even think this is AI, guys. I think this is a real game show. So this is what it's like living under socialism or communism, whatever you want to call it.
You successfully hit metal 17 times, so you are now proud owner of this photograph of motor car. I am happy, but property is theft, so you are now under arrest. Well, no.
That's where you are, guys. That's everybody who's voting for socialism, everybody who's voting for government ownership, everybody who's voting for state control. This is where you're going.
Gaily, you successfully hit metal 17 times.
Michele, you successfully hit piece of metal 17 times. Now you are a winner on Great Show.
So you are now proud owner of this Photograph of motorcar.
And you win photograph of motorcar. Well done.
I am happy, but property is theft, so you are now under arrest. Well enough.
He's just like, fair enough, I understand. Oh, guys, it's pretty hot in here. Isn't it? It's quite warm today for the 1st of December. Right, I'm going to jump onto the chat, ladies and gentlemen. I've got quite a few. I've got quite a few videos to go through. Right, good morning, everyone. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. You good-looking lot, you fantastic, amazing, good-looking, intelligent, articulate. I mean, that's just me. Leroy is saying, morning got rained off. What bricks do you lay? Where are you based? I need a bricklayer. I'd love to lay bricks, guys. Honestly, like, I wish I could lay bricks. Honestly, I wish I could lay bricks. It's one of the things, it's one of the things I wish I could do. I wish I could lay bricks. It seems so simple. I've had to go in the garden. It's been an absolute disaster. I had to get like real bricklayers to come in and sort it out. Debbie Doobs is saying, isn't Keir Starmer speaking this morning defending the budget? Any budgetary defense at this point is just, it can't be real. It cannot be real. And look, guys, when you're trying to make sense of everything, when you're trying to make sense of everything that's happening right now, take a step back, take a step back and think, okay, when you're trying to make sense of everything that's happening in the United Kingdom right now, don't try and think that the government are there to help. Take that out of your brain and just think to yourself, right, how would the government collapse the economy as quickly as possible and bring in universal basic income? And then everything makes sense. Everything makes sense. User is saying, yep, AI equals UBI. I think that was, yeah, okay. We've got quite a few comments. Good morning, Sharon Park. Sorry, not Sharon Mark, Sharon Park. Good morning, Sharon Park. I hope Sharon Park's well. Emma Watson said, yeah, we're all talking about universal basic income. Stop consuming unnecessary stuff. Stop buying fancy tech and tack. Get what you need, not what you want. I've been like that for a long time, guys. Right, let me jump down, guys. There's quite a lot of comments. And I'm not going to be able to get them all. Up the hill and around the corner is saying Russian Mini. No, I think it wasn't it a larder? I think it was a larder. Not even democracy is Democracy is socialism by nature. This is like Soviet Russia car. Yeah, it was a larder. I like the Nevers. I like that Neva. Tamara Green is saying, watching from Mississippi. How are things in Mississippi, Tamara Green? I hope things are fantastic in Mississippi. Right, James is saying, well, it doesn't matter about the economy because we're going to war. Hurrah. All these things are true, guys. All these things are true. Lewis Ackers is saying, you can have my trowel, Sean. Is that like some sort of code for something? You can have my trowel. It's like a Lord of the Rings where, where Aragorn stands up and he says, you can have my sword. And then Gimli stands up and he says, and my axe. And then Legolas says, and my bow. And Lewis Ackers comes up and says, Frodo, you can have my trowel. Hasn't Rachel Thieves resigned today? I don't think so. Let me check. No, there's nothing on the headline. But listen, guys, right? this really, guys, I'm absolutely boiling. Right, listen, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to jump off screen and take this thing off because I'm absolutely boiling. Give me a second, guys. I didn't realize how like warm temper it is. Give me a second. I'm going to jump off screen and I'm going to take this off and I'll jump back. So no, I can't find anything on the mainstream about Rachel Reeves resigning. I think it would be on the mainstream, but I can't find anything. Yeah, I saw this last night. I saw this last night. There's going to be there is going to be a bigger response to this, guys. Last night we spoke about the scandal that's breaking in. Last night we talked about the scandal that's breaking in Ukraine with this corruption and the phenomenal amounts of money that have been theft, basically. You know what? While we're all here struggling to put food on the table, and we're being told that we need to keep having taxes because we need to get not because we get boots on the ground. We're told we need to keep putting taxes up because, we need to keep taxing because there's a war in Ukraine and we've got to give them like 4 billion a year, or it might not be 4 billion, 3-point-something billion a year. The British government have pledged, I think it's like 3 billion a year or something. I've just realized I've got my jumper on inside out. Guys, can you believe that? I've just put my jumper on inside out. What a douche. Right, give me a second. Now my jumper's on the right way. Yeah, we were talking about the last night we were talking about this, the phenomenal amounts of money that have been stolen. So while we're all here, again, this can't be real. Look, guys, if people think that this can't be real, what's happening now? Like, we can't be looking at this thing that's like this absolute craziness, because we are in a financial crisis right now, guys. All right. You may not have been told that we're in a financial crisis, but I believe we're in an absolute financial crisis today in the United Kingdom right now, guys. Keir Starmer going to defend Rachel because they're linked. If one falls, they both fall. I don't think either of them are going for a long time. Why would they go? It makes no sense. It makes no sense for them to go. They're doing exactly what's needed to be. Chris R is saying everyone needs a car too. The government should provide a car for everyone. I need to get my tires changed as well. Right, let me jump down. Check my comment above that one. Oh, this is phenomenal. Okay, hang on. You know how I said right. I'm not getting preemptive strike. I can't find. Right, where are we getting that? Okay, I think. Oh, here we are. I've got this. Right. Okay, I've got this. Okay, I'm not going to share this with you because it's absolutely blasted with ads. NATO considers preemptive. I'm reading this from I think this is the Kiev Post. I don't know what this news article is. NATO considers preemptive strike on the Financial Times. Sorry, this is Financial. Sorry, I think, did you say where it was from? Yeah, you did say Financial Times, but the Financial Times has got a massive paywall, so I'm not going to read it off the Financial Times. So NATO is considering strengthening its response to hybrid warfare from Russia, including Russian cyber attacks. Okay, I think this is all the same article. I have said, oh, hang on. Okay, so what they're saying, what NATO are saying now is a preemptive strike can be a defensive action, but it's further from our usual way of thinking and behaving. So what they're saying is that, they can take things out, like, kind of like, I think, I mean, the theory is solid. If you think about the nuclear weapons dropped on Hiroshima at the end of the Second World War, that did save a lot of lives. I know that doesn't sound logical, but it saved, what would save a lot of lives is stop these wars, like just stop them. Don't do wars, just stop. But as the theory goes, the nuclear weapons dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, they saved lives because without dropping those nuclear weapons, they were going to have to. It would have to be a U.S. beach assault into Japan, and the Japanese would not have stopped fighting, and there would be a ton of Japanese dead and a ton of Americans dead. So what the Americans did is they just dropped they dropped Hiroshima, and they said, "Look, we can literally keep doing this all day." Then they dropped another one and said, "Look, it's up to you guys. You can surrender, or we can keep dropping these things." And they surrendered. So I have said previously, that I do think NATO would start this. I have said NATO would start this war in the context that now all NATO countries have. It will be perceived. It will be perceived that NATO start this war because. The example I give is it's starting by accident, whereby you have all these rules of engagement now that are, so what happens when you get a rule? Look, guys, for anybody who's military, you already know this, but for anybody who's not military, you guys, this is how it works, all right? This is how it works. So you get your rules of engagement. So whatever those rules of engagement are, whatever. And the rules of engagement would be your legal framework to open fire, basically. Now, there's something come out in the news today about. There's quite a few things actually about the British military in the news today. Actually, there's one article in particular about special forces, UK special forces, who are being accused of war crimes. I will touch on that. But I may do a standalone live stream about that. So you get your rules of engagement. All right. Once you've got those rules of engagement, you need them in. Those rules of engagement need to be interpreted. So then you will go to a class, you will go through scenarios, and those rules of engagement will be communicated to you because the rules of engagement may be in peculiar legal jargon, right? Now, this is why I keep going on about this, guys. When I say to you guys, we don't have a legal framework to protect ourselves from a tyrannical government, and then people say, oh, we have the Magna Carta. Oh, yeah, that's fine. But without that interpretation, it's nothing. So when you get these rules of engagement, you get taught, for example, I don't know, if you're a helicopter pilot and somebody, and your rules of engagement are, if you get shot at, you fire back regardless. You don't need to order in, you just fire back and then send a contact report, whatever. Once those rules of engagement have been accepted and communicated, then as soon as that happens, that helicopter pilot fires back. And this is why I say that these things this will start by accident. This will absolutely start by accident, guys. It will start by accident. Jesus only checks tires at speed in bad conditions. Be careful. Oh, I think we're talking about. Listen, I've seen quite a few blowouts. I've seen quite a few blowouts in the Middle East, guys. In the Middle East, when you ask your locals to bring you in some good tires, and they bring you in like jinglings from China, and then you're on like you're on like Route Irish, and you have a blowout. Debbie Dooms is saying the only luxury I have is my little caravan, but that's going end of next year when my hubby retires. Debbie, is that in a caravan park? I think you'd be doing well to get rid of that if it's in a caravan park. My sister has a caravan at. Is there a place? I don't know. It's in northeast Lincolnshire somewhere. I can't. It's like, I think it's called Seven Oaks or something. I don't know. I don't know what it's called. But my sister's got a caravan, and they've started to put migrants. They've started to put migrants in that caravan park. So, you know, she's like, you know, she don't want to. She's like, well, you know, if I don't sell it now, the price is just going to drop. And what they've started to do is, because they want people out of those caravans, what they've started to do now, because the migrants are going into that caravan park, everybody's wanting to leave. So what the caravan park are doing is offering them really low ball offers for their caravans. Slim is saying the bombs dropped in Japan were tiny compared to the modern nuclear weapons. Yeah, they were absolutely tiny. Just for context, the nuclear weapon dropped on. Well, I don't know about Nagasaki, but the nuclear weapon dropped on Hiroshima. If that was to be dropped today, that wouldn't be a strategic nuclear weapon. That would be classed as a tactical nuclear weapon. Let me jump down, guys. There's quite a lot of comments on the chat. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Debbie Doobs is saying lots leaving our campsite too. Yeah, lots of people are leaving, guys. Okay, lots of people are leaving. I reckon you're right, Sean. I think war will start by accident or be made to look that way. It's war, baby. Yeah, it is, guys. This war will start absolutely by accident. It will. It will start by accident, and then you know what will happen? All the money. And all you guys, all those guys, we're all going to then see images and footage. You know, yeah, hang on. Templar Mark, you're absolutely right. That's happening. That is happening. We're all going to see images of British troops. And then you're going to have Keir Starmer saying, with your Rachel Reeves saying, we need to give our soldiers the best possible equipment. And Zelensky needs a new Lamborghini. And the hotels they're building, they need to have new bathrooms fitted. So we all need to pay more tax. Tell me I'm wrong, guys. Tell me I'm wrong. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, I don't think the way I see this going now, the way I see what's happening in the United Kingdom going is more taxes, and more tax, and then war. Tax, and war. When you look at Europe, like Europe as a whole, they are getting ready. Literally, Europe are getting ready, you know. Do it, Debbie. Get it rented. Get it rented and put it out there on social media and record it. I know a lot of people who've been offered quite a lot of money to rent their out their properties. Claire is saying, I'm never shocked by government ideas. That's right. But put potential pedos in a kid's holiday park. It's crazy, guys. Listen, it's absolute. Well, that's a fantastic picture, thumbnail you've got there, Claire. So look, guys, you know, when you go to these like caravan parks, I mean, I've been to like the one where I think it's called, I may be wrong. I think it's called Seven Oaks. I don't know. It doesn't matter what it's called. But when you go to these caravan parks, they're very secure. You've got they're very secure. So you let the kids just play. You let the kids go out and play, and there's little like swings and stuff, and then they're playing in the woods, you know. But now, you know, a lot of these caravan parks are taking migrants. So would you feel safe? You know, would you feel safe letting your kids play? You know, I mean, look, guys, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with with migrants. What I'm saying is we don't know. And there has been a massive uptick. You guys have seen it on the news. You guys have seen it on the media. You guys have seen the images on the news of the people that get convicted of these crimes. Pattern recognition, guys. Pattern recognition. What are the patterns? Do you recognize them? Are you going to act accordingly? Hence, pattern recognition. It saved humans for thousands of years. It saved us for thousands of years, guys. Stuart Butt. No, Stuart Turbutt. Stuart Turbutt is saying, Operation Shatter. Bring down prices on property for BlackRock and Vanguard. Also, I think he means Serco there. Serco to buy it up. It does look like that, guys. It really does. It would be hard. It would be very hard for anyone to deny that that's true. The property market, like you know, and I've said this quite a few times. Again, what's happening? It can't be real. Are we in the Matrix? Did anybody really survive? Did anybody really survive 2012? Guys, did we even survive 2012, or did we all get locked into the Matrix? Guys, has everybody seen Stranger Things? Because I'm going to give a spoiler. Has everyone seen Stranger Things? Because I'm going to give a spoiler. Well, I'm going to give a spoiler. If you've not seen Stranger Things, then just pause this live stream and come back in like a minute or so. So you know the new Stranger Things, how like you've got like what is it, Holly, and you know the rest of the kids, and they're all in Vecna's lair with the thing in their mouth, but they're in like this like Matrix world, and they're trying to escape. Is that where we all are right now? Is that where we all are right now? Because the stuff that's happening really can't be real. I spoke about this like quite a while ago. There is an absolute war. There is an absolute war on ownership. There's a war on ownership right now. If you own a house, you get taxed. Literally, if you own anything, you're getting taxed and taxed and taxed. You know, I'll bring you back to this, guys. So when we're talking about, ownership and socialism, I'll show you this video again. I'm going to give you this video again.
You successfully hit metal 17 times, so you are now proud owner of this photograph of motor car. I am happy, but property is theft, so you are now under arrest. Well,
That's where we are. That's where we are. Would it surprise anybody if, like, you know, they came out and said, okay, you people who now own property in UK, property is theft and is not permissible to state. Now you are all under arrest and government take building. You're like, what? I fucking paid for that. Yes, but now government own it. People don't understand. People don't understand how crazy these things are. Right, let me jump down and get what happened in 2012. Okay, so for those of you guys who don't know, 2012 was supposed to be the end of the world. 21st of October, 21st of December, 2012. That's when the world was supposed to come to an end. That is when the Anunnaki were supposed to come over. The Anunnaki were supposed to come over on Nibiru, the planet of the crossing. And you know what, guys? I could argue, I could argue that the world as we know it ended in 2012. You know, you could argue that the world as we know it ended in 2012. James Brook is saying, from Poland to Germany to the UK, they're trying to send Ukrainians back to Ukraine. They need more soldiers. They're running out. Yeah, look, guys, they're not running out. They don't have anyone left. They don't have anyone left. The Ukraine war, guys, it's fucking white. Honestly, like when I spoke to my friend in Ukraine last night about the depths of corruption, and look, guys, I'm British. You know, I live in the United Kingdom. I don't know for how long. I live in the United Kingdom. When he was telling me the depths and the amount of corruption in Ukraine, I said to him, I said, mate, I said, how can British taxpayers keep sending money? He said, I know you shouldn't. It's getting stolen, allegedly for entertainment purposes. That's a rumor. I don't, until it comes official, we can't say. But I don't know if you guys were on the live stream last night. We was talking about an alleged conversation that's been recorded by this NABU, the National Agency, the National, or I don't know, the NABU. It's basically the anti-corruption unit in Ukraine. I can't remember what it stands for. Now, there's a rumor out that Zelensky has been overheard, and this implies Macron, it implies Joe Biden. It's fucking crazy, guys. While you've got young 16, 17, young men on the front line giving their lives to protect their country, you've got these fat, bloated politicians eating, skimming money off the top, not giving them the kit and equipment that they need. And, it absolutely destroys me, guys. It destroys me. But sorry, the conversation allegedly. Now, the conversation allegedly, for entertainment purposes, the conversation is of Zelensky talking to his bros, and so Zelensky's talking to his bros, and they're trying to get $4 billion out of Ukraine. When you can't, that's a lot of money, guys. Like you get, So they're trying to get $4 billion out of Ukraine. It's that much money. Zelensky allegedly has to phone Macron up. So they've got him on the phone, allegedly talking to Macron, trying to buy a French bank so they can launder the money, so they can get the money out of Ukraine. Like, and we're getting taxed. And we're getting taxed into oblivion. And we're about to send our young men and women over there. And some of them are not going to come back. Honestly, like I just struggle. I really struggle, guys. I really struggle. Let me jump down, guys. Let me jump down. Farage has sold his soul for a seat in Parliament. What do we mean? I don't know. I don't know what we mean by that. Listen, okay, so Leroy here, he's going to blame the Jews. He's going to blame the Jews. He's going to blame the Jews. Look, okay, right. So, right, okay. I'll do you a deal, Leroy, right? I'll do you a deal, right? I will do you a deal, okay? Some people in Ukraine are saying that a load of the Zelensky government are going to do a runner, and they're going to do a runner to Israel. If that happens, all right, and I don't know if it will happen, if that happens, let's reconsider this, all right? Let's reconsider this. Sharon Owen is saying, Starmer is saying he's proud of the budget and he wants to get more women into work. How is he like? I think less women in work. I think we should have like. I mean, I'm saying more women. I'm saying less women in work, but then I've just showed. I've just like, look, you don't get many Margaret Thatchers. There's not many Margaret Thatchers, guys. There isn't. There's not many Margaret Thatchers out there. I think we should have more. Can we instead of saying can we get more women into work and shoehorning women into work? Can we not just say we want more Margaret Thatchers? Because this getting more women into work, it has a negative effect. It has an absolute negative effect, guys. It has a negative effect. Now, if we're saying, like, if for example, this is counterproductive. It just destroys people's lives, right? Let's just say, for example, Keir Starmer wants to get more women into work. Listen to how dark this is. I want more women in the workplace. Those fucking women don't want to work. They want to stay at home with the kids. Like, you're like, whoa, Starmer, mate, I don't want to work. And they're like, right, you've got to work. So what they do now is they say, right, companies, you have to employ. I had this myself when I worked for the European Union. So the companies will now get told they have to employ more women. So they say, right, you need a government mandate comes down. You have to have X amount of your staff as women. Well, what if you can't find that many competent women? what do you have to do? You have to employ incompetent women, or you have to make up roles for those women. So when you make up roles for these women, you know, sat behind a desk with an email doing some shit, that comes off your profit margin. That comes off your margin because she's not needed, but you need her to get your quota. Or you put her on the line with the blokes. And if you put her on the line with the blokes, she's not going to be as efficient. And I don't care what anybody says, guys. I don't care what anybody says, right? Let's just say you're on like, I don't know. Friend of mine's got a recycling yard, and they have like a big conveyor belt, and they pour all the rubbish on this big conveyor belt, and then you'll get one guy, and he'll be picking bricks off, and he'll be throwing bricks into a thing. Somebody else will be picking bits of metal off. Somebody else will be picking wood off, and so that's how the line works. You start putting women on that, all right? They'll start doing wild shit. They will. Women will start doing wild shit. They'll start, oh, I picked that bit of paper because it was pretty and I thought that should go in with the wood. Yeah, that's not what you do, love. That's not what you do. Like, if you're driving somewhere and you're in the car with a woman and she's driving, first of all, it's a terrifying experience. If you're in the car with a woman and she's driving, right, and you want to go from point A to point B, this is the route you'll take. But, okay, let's just say this. You want to go to point A to point B. Now, I would go in a straight line. That's what I would do. I'd take the most efficient route, right? I'd take the most efficient route. Now, a woman, she'd start here. She'd go this way. She'll go up. She'll come down. She'll get here. She'll go up. She'll forgot her purse. So we have to go back to the house to get the purse. Now we go down. We go up. We go down. We end up at the park. Then... And it takes fucking forever. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. What I'm saying is, if you want the workplace to flourish, let people in the workplace who are qualified, willing, able, and motivated. Don't just put women in the workplace because you want. So look how dark that is now. Look how dark that is, that statement from Keir Starmer. Keir Starmer wants more women in the workplace. Oh, great, Keir Starmer. What if women don't want to work? What if they want to stay at home with the kids? No. You're going to work. I don't want to work. Trevor Pritchard is saying, 2012 was interesting. You could see who the really naive people were. What do you mean, guys? I was in Baghdad on a rooftop meditating. I was there doing the meditations, ready for the Anunnaki. Let me jump down and get some jump down. Is this a personal view? No, my views are not personal. They are didactic facts. Sean has been listening to 1970s comedians. I've not been. Maybe I have actually, but not recently. And again, he's saying poor unskilled workers used to be able to afford a wife at home and children and pay his way in life until mass migration changed that. Yeah, it did. Absolutely changed it. Sharon Park is saying some poor women work 3 jobs to survive nowadays. Do you feel empowered? Girls, ladies, do you get, ladies, if you're working 3 jobs to put food on the table, do you feel empowered? Do you feel like you're a power woman? It's absurd. It's absurd. Emma Watts is saying the government just want to have more control over our children so they can indoctrinate our kids for longer. Guys, listen, I don't know about you, but the girls have got AI in their classrooms now. They've got an AI listening to them in their classrooms right now. So this came in last week. Last week. So this came, definitely last week. So this came in last week. So the girls have now got AI in their classrooms. So there's an AI listening in the classroom. And that is, I don't know what it's doing. Now, initially, the teachers didn't like it and they've had it unplugged. But over time, this is just going to be the norm. It's just going to be the norm. So, there is like a massive There is a massive control fight for the children. But look, guys, I'll be quite clear. I think Gen Z see through this bullshit, and when Gen Z rise up, they are going to be absolute monsters, and I'm all for that. Claire is saying, blame the woman's rights, woke transformers. Listen, all you women that are working 3 jobs, you know, you're working 3 jobs to look after your kids. Do you feel empowered? Are you glad you get to vote? Are you girls glad you get to vote? You know, you're working 3 jobs. You're working 3 jobs to try and put food on the table. You're getting taxed into oblivion. You don't see your kids because they leave for school in the morning. You have to leave for work. They get back before you. When you get back, you make them dinner. They're ungrateful because they don't see you and they don't see you as the authority figure. You then give them the dinner. They're rude. They're, you know, and they're, oh, Mum, I don't want to do this. Do you feel, listen, don't worry about all that shit. Because once every 4 years, you get to vote. So there you go, guys. You've got the vote. You get to vote. Listen, guys, I know how hard it is. You know, I know how hard it is. Maybe I don't know as how hard it is. Maybe Keir Starmer knows how hard it is a little bit more than me, though. Chris is saying that's like Keir Starmer wants to increase the hours in the work week. I thought they wanted to reduce the working day to 4 days a week. I'm pretty sure they would. Didn't Labour want to reduce the working week to like 4 days? Some countries, women can't drive, yet they give them licenses. But yeah, look, I've seen some very questionable driving from Middle Eastern women in the United Kingdom. People should change the education system simply by keeping their children at home for a month. I don't know where I am with this, guys. I know a lot of people are homeschooling now. You know, a lot of people are homeschooling. It's not just the education; it's that social interaction the kids have as well. And you know, I don't know where I am. I totally understand that the education system isn't educating; it's just providing more workers. That's what it is. It's not educating; it's providing more workers. You know, but then we need more workers. But yeah, so it's I get all these angles, and it's I don't really know. I don't want to sit on the fence here with homeschooling, but it's very difficult because on one side you've got, I feel like I could, when the girls come back, I have to say, right, what have you learned today? No, that's bullshit. That's fake. Don't listen to that. You know. But then they get them those social interactions. They get those, you know, that awareness. All right, that we look at that naughty boy there. Look how he's acting. We know he's a naughty boy, right? So I don't, you know. So they get a lot more from school than just the education. Templar Matt is saying, 100%, Sean. I've said that for a long time. What are we talking? Are we talking about women in the vote there? I think we're talking about women in the vote there. Yeah, well, look, guys, we really are shackled. You know, we're shackled, and you know, we're financially shackled to it. We really are financially shackled ourselves. Anyway, listen, guys, let me jump back, and I've not even got right. I've not even got through, like literally, I've not got through half of the stuff I wanted to get through. Right, so we've done that one. Okay, so it came out today. Okay, so I'm going to read you a couple of headlines now. I'm going to leave the military stuff and I'll do a separate video on that. So Reeves tax raid to damage growth. Say KPMG says, I don't know what that is, KPMG. KPMG says economy will slow significantly after the Chancellor's decision to freeze the threshold. So what she's done essentially by freezing these tax thresholds, she's stopped anybody having the incentive to work. She stopped anyone having the incentive to go to work and do a bit extra more, be more productive. There's no point, because if you're more productive now, you just get taxed more and you don't really so like what's driven people for thousands of years, since the dawn of time, like go back to when we were like cavemen. What's drove us to succeed and to be a productive, whether it's a productive tribe and we're hunter-gatherers, whether it's whatever it is, what drives you to succeed is ultimately it's greed. It's wanting to provide a better family for you, a better situation for you and your family. So like hunter-gatherers hundreds of thousands of years ago, when they're wearing loincloths and stuff, the successful families or the successful tribes would get up earlier, they'd go out, they'd beat other people to the bushes, to the apple trees, they'd think of new ways to capture animals, and they're being productive. So that tribe, the productive tribe, does better. It thrives. Whereas the lazy tribe who are just laid in the cave all day, shagging and banging kids out, they're not a productive tribe. They ain't got no food to eat. They ain't got no firewood. The wildebeests are stalking them. So that tribe fails. They're gone, they're finished, they're over. The wildebeest go in and snaffle them. Right now in the world, we still have that same mentality, but we're a little bit more sophisticated. So the drive for people getting up in the morning and going to work is so you can buy that new, you might want to upgrade from an E-class to an S-class. You might want to put that moat around your castle. You're like, right, do you know what? I finally got enough money. Get them fucking JCBs in and get that moat around the castle. You might be, look, guys, I know some people may be living in a castle without a moat. And I get it. It's embarrassing. If you're living in a castle without a moat, I get it, guys. It's embarrassing. Your mates fly in with their helicopters and like, Sean, you ain't got a fucking moat around your castle. And you're like, yeah, I know, mate. With it financial hard times, I can't get a moat around my castle. So the incentive for working hard is to provide more for yourself. And that drives up productivity. If the incentive for you to work harder is to pay for migrants in a hotel or pay for some communities to have more kids, there is no incentive. There is no incentive, guys. There's no incentive with that. Right, listen, guys. My precious, what are we talking about here? Are we talking about Lord of the Rings? We got Lord of the Rings. Claire is saying, I'm a woman. I 100% agree with Sean. Most women do. I know most women do. Guys, girls, ladies, you've been sold an absolute lie. You've been sold a lie. I think it was maybe in like the 50s or the 60s. You guys were sold a lie, and it was the biggest scam you've ever had. It was the biggest scam you've ever had. In the 70s, we had no money to be taxed. Used to walk 15 miles to school. So James is saying in the 70s, we had no money to be taxed. Used to walk 15 miles to school, swim across a river, fight off a wolf. Yeah, and didn't you have to go out and hunt lion meat for lunch? Stormer is a ring bearer. Oh, right, okay. So we call it. All right, okay. So a ring bearer, right? Okay, yeah. I was watching one of these live shows. I think it was a Graham Norton show, and he used to ring people up. Graham Norton used to ring people up and like do this show or something. It might be on YouTube. And I don't know if this was planned, but Graham Norton rang somebody up, and the first thing he said, "Hi, it's Graham Norton. You're live on the Graham Norton show," or whatever. And the first thing this guy was saying, "Oh, we were just talking about Lord of the Rings." Oh, so Sarah does not agree with me. Okay, so Sarah, okay, so Sarah, right, I'm going to ask you a question, Sarah. Would you rather be at home looking after your kids, you know, making everything pretty without a vote? Or would you prefer to be a girl boss, working 3 jobs, you know, and you have the vote? Right, listen, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to close this down now. I've not got through half of the stuff I wanted to get through. The crux of this live stream, it really is, guys. Oh, swizzle, this can't be real. We are in a crisis alert in the United Kingdom. It does look like the economy, you know, does look like the economy is being absolutely destroyed. Now, whatever metric you look at in the United Kingdom right now, everything's pointing to the same. More taxes, less productivity, no economy. And I do think this total destruction of the United Kingdom is leading towards universal basic income. And when you take universal basic income, that means the government doesn't work for you. You work for that. You work for the government. So when they tell you to jump, you will say how high, or they will take off your universal basic income, because people will get dependent on it. And when you're dependent on something, it controls you. Go and ask anybody who's got addiction, you know, because people will be addicted to this universal basic income. Yeah, I'm going to leave on this, guys. Okay. And I think this is true. If voting changed anything, it would be illegal. Yeah, I think in America they say, what's the point in voting? The government always gets in. Right, ladies and gentlemen, on that bombshell, I am going to leave this down now. I said this yesterday. I'm going to try and get on in the afternoon as well. Shortly after this, because I want to start doing live streams in the where we've got the Christmas tree up and that. It's just so I'm not having to heat 2 places. Anyway, guys, I am going to close this down now. You guys have been fantastic. If you've not done so, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share my stuff, guys. Really helps me out. And I'll be back on later. If I'm not back on later, I'll be back on at 8, and I'll see you guys later.